So we have our planisphere put together. Again, this is going to be the night sky. The outside of the oval is the horizon, kind of in a full 360. Straight up, a point that they refer to as the zenith, would be basically in the middle of the oval. So right about there would be straight up. If you went outside and laid on your back, it looks straight up. Notice it's not the same as where Polaris is. On my version here, Polaris is where the brass grommet is there. That's the point that everything turns about, but it's not straight up. It's down in the northern sky a little bit. As I mentioned on the notes, there is some distortion involved here. The set of all directions you can look up in the sky with amount to like a hemisphere or a big dome, and to flatten that down to a piece of paper is going to require distorting something somewhere. I added some little marks on mine. That point right there would actually be due north on your horizon, and that's due south. So those are at the very top and bottom of the oval. East and west are over here, but not at the sides of the oval as you might expect, but kind of ooched up toward the north a little bit. Also notice east and west are reversed from a ground map. That's just because you're underneath this looking up as opposed to being above the ground looking down. But the location of due east and due west are due to that distortion. Basically the shapes are most accurate near the North Star, Polaris, and then as you go farther out from that, they get stretched sideways a little bit. So down here, the far southern sky is going to be kind of the worst as far as that distortion goes. Basic idea is pretty simple. To get your current sky, you have two scales here. You have the day of the year scale, and then on the stationary part, you've got the times of the day. So for instance, let's use January 20th. It's about where we are now. And then kind of early in the evening, let's say 8 p.m. So I just take the January 20 mark and line it up with the 8 p.m. mark. And so that right there should be the sky pretty much anywhere at our latitude on this date at that time. One helpful trick for using the planisphere is whichever direction you're looking in the sky, you can turn this so that side is down below. So if you were to, like, say, look north, for instance, you might want to turn this so that the northern horizon is down, and then what you'd be seeing is there's the Big Dipper, which is part of Ursa Major. It would be kind of off to the northeast. As you look due north, it'd be to your right a little bit. The bucket's kind of coming up in the northeast. There's Cepheus is that shape there. You might see Cygnus, which is also the Northern Cross is kind of the main part of that setting a little bit in the northwest. But then if you're looking more to the west, you turn this around and kind of look to the west. In the west, you'd see Pegasus and Andromeda. The lines on here are not anything official. People just have a tendency naturally to connect the dots. They've been drawing lines between stars for time immemorial, and they have no astronomical significance, and there's no official right way to draw the lines. And actually, for starting out, they can be helpful, or they can also be can throw you off a little bit. Probably you want to focus more on simpler shapes like kind of squares, pentagons, diamonds, rows, that sort of thing. For instance, in the west, there's Pegasus, this area here, and Andromeda. Actually, between them, there's kind of what's called the Great Square. It's a real clear, kind of a big square that's over there. As we come around to the south, when we get a clear night or two this week, you want to go outside and try to look for some of these things. Actually, a good part of the sky to start with, there's a nice kind of row of things in the south that are pretty easy to spot and tell where you are. Orion is probably, after the Big Dipper, I'd say maybe the second most recognized constellation. It's pretty clear. It has 3 fairly bright stars in a row. That's Orion's belt that stand out real nicely. In fact, there's even a little, doesn't show on here, but there's even a little angling batch of stars that kind of come down this way, like a little little knife holder. There's a couple of bright stars like above and below the belt, and the little tiny print on there is the individual star names. So there's Rigel down there, and that's actually Betelgeuse up there. Those are real bright, and then there's also bright but not quite as bright stars here and there, kind of the 2 shoulders and 2 knees of Orion the Hunter. But three belt stars, and then kind of these other 4 outside of that, pretty distinctive. This time of year, during the kind of prime time, that'll be fairly high up, but in the south is here, so a little bit to the southeast. Now keep in mind, as time passes, this will move. So if you go out a little bit later, say 9 o'clock, this wheel mimics the way that the Earth is turning, more off a little. So anyway, there's January 20th back at 8 p.m. But as the night goes on, gradually, keeping with January 20th, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9 p.m. Things will move a little bit. So by 9 p.m. Orion is still down there in the south, but not as far east as it was. Plus, he's rotated. He's not tilted quite the same way it was earlier. But Orion's a good place to start. Again, down in the south, maybe just a little bit to the east. The brightest true star in the sky is actually pretty close by then. Once you found Orion, to kind of look to the left and down a ways, a fair ways, you'll see a really bright star. That's Ceres, also called the dog star. That's actually the brightest true star in the night sky. Now, there's also planets as well, and we'll talk about those later, but you may have seen stars that seem brighter than Ceres does to you, but if you have, they were planets. Venus can certainly be a lot brighter than Ceres, and sometimes Jupiter as well. Back to Orion again, kind of south, fairly high up, because remember, straight overhead is just here, so pretty high up in the sky. To the right and up a little bit, you'll see Taurus. The main thing you'll see in Taurus is kind of a V shape. This part of it here, there's a distinctive V with a brightest star in that'll be kind of the lower right part of the V. And then you go a little farther the same direction, something real distinctive. I'm sure you'll see if it's clear enough. That the Pleiades star cluster. That's that little bitty grouping right there. 5 or 6 or 7 under good conditions, little cluster of stars. It's also called the Seven Sisters, actually. It's what's known as a star cluster, a group of stars that really are as close together as they appear, and it's a pretty distinctive shape. It looks like a little teeny tiny miniature dipper. In fact, that's often mistaken for the Little Dipper. It's the Little Dipper actually isn't that little, but that's the Pleiades star cluster, and they make kind of a nice row from southeast to southwest this time of year, so that should be pretty easy to find. And once you've found some things, you can kind of hopscotch from there. If you're sure you found those, then Auriga is this pentagon up here. That's pretty clear. There'll be the brightest star will be kind of in the upper right part of the pentagon. Perseus, sort of a shape of stars over there. Gemini to the right of, to the left of Auriga. These stars in here are fairly faint, but what you notice most obviously is just these 2 bright ones up there. There'll be a pair of bright stars, kind of side by side.